Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Camology, the Cambridge podcast. And in this episode, episode 15, I am chatting with Rachel Briant of Get Synergised. Hey, Rachel, how you doing?
Hello.
Good stuff. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. So, Rachel, do you just want to give a bit of a background on yourself, how you come to be in Cambridge, and tell us about the great work you do.
Thank you. So really great to be here and chat with you. And so I'm actually born and bred in Cambridge. So I grew up here, lived in a little village outside of Cambridge, and most of my work has been done here. I've also done work in London, Peterborough and Bedford, but mostly around Cambridge for most of my working life. And I guess I hit a time in my 40s where I just really wanted to rethink my options in life, what I was doing. Was I really in a role where I really felt it was fulfilling my, I guess, purpose and the skills that I had, and decided to take some time out, travel to Australia, come back and set up a new business based on what I believed in.
Do you mind me asking? So you said there's a bit of a gap from born and bred in Cambridge to 40. What was happening in between that sort of period? Was it sort of...
Yes, I think probably working in sectors where I was helping children, young people and families that had been facing distinct disadvantage, whether that's through teenage pregnancy, through financial poverty, whether that be through struggling with academic achievement, working with young people not in education, employment and training who had come from out of prison. So I think most of my career had been working within that sector. And so I did want to use the 20 years of experience moving into doing something new and different. And I guess 40, I hit a bit of a pivot point in my life. I was not married, didn't have children, and felt I had an opportunity to perhaps rediscover new things that I might want to do. And that's what I did, using that experience, which really was quite fulfilling, but felt I really wanted to do more to give back.
Nice. So then you went to Australia, did a bit of traveling. What did you get up to over there?
Oh wow! Highlights: the Hunter Valley, going and doing wine tasting. I really loved that. That was a real highlight. And a friend of mine came over from Cambridge for about 3 weeks to hang out with me as well. So that was really nice. She joined me on that trip. We went to Cairns and did the Great Barrier Reef, stayed in a camper van, drove up to the Cape Tribulation and the Daintree rainforest. I have cousins out there, 2 brothers. Nice. So I used that as my base. And then I moved around between Sydney, Wollongong and Merriweather and just did that patch and then jumped up to Cairns. Oh, it was amazing. 3 months. It was a highlight of my life. I hadn't done university or done the travel thing when I was young. I kind of flipped it round the other way. And I guess I didn't perhaps expect that I'd be 40, single, and no children or not married. And yeah, I guess that isn't what sort of society tells you. You know, that you're meant to be of a certain stage. And I just think it gave me freedom and opportunity to do what I wanted. So I took it.
As you're talking, I'm just thinking, lucky you. You know, I know, but I don't mean that in a funny way. But lucky you. You know, if you're, you've got the freedom, and you've got choices in your life. You know, you went to Australia, and then so you came back. Did you work out in Australia for a bit?
No.
Okay.
Too old, couldn't get a working visa.
Could you not? Oh, shame.
No.
Shame. But then you came back.
I tried.
You tried. Cash in hand work, no?
No, I didn't. No. I'm a bit too. I stick by the rules. So yeah.
That's fair enough. Somebody's got to. So you came back. So came back to Cambridge, no doubt, fully rejuvenated, sort of feeling very positive about everything.
That's true, yeah.
And then, so when was that? What year was that?
Oh gosh, it was 2017. I came back. 2017, yeah, end of 2017 I came back. So I've been back a couple of years and then started thinking, okay, what am I passionate about? What would I like to do? And I had this feeling about getting businesses at that point to really think about being a force for good. And because my background was working with the charitable sector, and I'd had some connections with businesses working with charities, that the charity I was working for, I just thought we could do more of this. We could do this better. We could really understand each other and really connect and build some really good relationships to help the vulnerable in the community. So
when you say it could be done better, how was it being done how was it being done at that point?
I think what I saw was a bank coming in and doing some money courses for vulnerable families that needed to improve their ways of managing money to reduce poverty. So that was a really good experience. And it was really tangible. It was very practical. It was very needs-based on what the community needed and what people were wanting. And I think sometimes when we look at corporate social responsibility, it can sometimes be what we've always done, a tick box or a particular thing that a company has done for over a period of time. And I feel like it's shifting a little bit to businesses really looking at what does the community need and how can we respond.
So you mentioned about it could be done better in the business world. So what were your experiences of how it was being done at that point?
So we were working with a local bank, working with a charity, trying to look at better ways to help vulnerable families improve their money. So to help them reduce poverty and be more able to provide for their families. So that experience was really positive because it was the business sector coming into the charitable sector and actually providing something that was really needs-based. I think not always.
Now, can I say it? So when one thing that springs to mind, so when, in your experience, so you gave the example of a bank coming in, do you think at a cynical level, it was a sort of some people were doing it as a tick box exercise, or was there a sincere energy behind it?
That's a really good question, actually. The bank that we work with has proven over a number of years that it really is trying to respond to the needs of the community and has a very good structured, embedded process of how it goes about doing its corporate social responsibility involving its employees. So I knew from looking at their history, their website, the way they did it, that there was a real authenticity to it. And I think that's a really good point. I think the businesses that are doing it because it's authentic and they're responding to needs than the ones that do it because it's a PR exercise. And this particular bank or building society, shall I say, was actually really genuine, and they really put a lot of effort in. It wasn't just handing over some money. It was really, they were involved with me in writing the session. They were involved in the delivery. They actually provided some first bank accounts to families to get for their children to help them look at saving. I could see it. And I think what you're probably touching on is you know when a business is being authentic and genuine, and it fits with the values of the company and that they really want to do something, and whether it's others that perhaps,
because as you're, they
don't know how to do it well.
Because as you're talking, I'm just thinking, I guess we're talking about a business, but I guess it comes down to the man or the woman or the board or whatever, however you want to call it, that are physically running that company at that time. Do you know what I mean? I guess it comes, it's under the guise of a business, but I guess it comes from the leadership of that business, where it's that, that real, it's coming from them as a sincere human.
Absolutely. I think if a business and a leader really gets it, that a business could look at being able to have profit, but also have a value of purpose. And they believe that a business can be a force for good and give back in a really meaningful way. And that's led from the front. That's also led down from the top, but also engaging the employees in the decision making of what that looks like. My experience is where businesses can align it to the values of their companies. If they're picking a charitable partner, where there's similarities in values, where both sides see mutual benefit, and where it really, because it does give back to employees, they feel good giving back. But we need.
Do you find a lot of them are sincere with their corporate social responsibility?
Yeah, Yeah, I think Cambridge is actually really good, particularly when most of my work has been here. I think Cambridge is really good. I think there's a real sense of businesses wanting to do positive work. I think a number of businesses just don't know where and how to do it perhaps more authentically. And that's not because they aren't authentic. It's just that they're not, it's a very different sector. And they don't always understand. And I guess part of what I want to do is to come in between with my background of the charitable sector and the business in my background as well, and actually help them understand each other. And I think when they really do, they realise, oh, there's more that can be done that's perhaps more meaningful or more authentic. So I think it's perhaps increasing people's knowledge more than it is that they're not being authentic. I think there still are some that perhaps tick a box, and I would encourage them to think a little bit more about their giving back and social impact, and is it really adding value?
Okay, so you, but again, perhaps we were talking earlier about, we were talking about, yes, you're dealing with businesses, but I guess it's got to come from the leadership, the actual people at, in the boardroom, or the owner managers that are going to be making these decisions.
Absolutely. I believe corporate social responsibility, or social impact, however you want to call it, I really think it should be embedded as part of a business strategy, and that would come from the board and the top. Do they actually value it? Do they actually think that businesses having an element of purpose and profit is important? But I think your point is, yes, it should come from the top and from leadership. It's as good as it's filtered down. But also, do they really engage the employees in the decision making? And there's some really good examples in Cambridge of companies that involve employees in that decision making. But then there's another level. Is it because it's what the business thinks the community needs? Or is it because really what the community needs? And I think sometimes businesses might come with an idea. It may be not what's needed. And I think if we can get that working better, I think that's when it really brings about change.
And I guess part of your role is to actually be the go-between. So to work out, where is the need? What are the sort of companies that actually want to provide something, and bridge the two? Have I understood your role correctly?
Yeah, I guess you'd call me a bit of a matchmaker, or the glue that joins it together. And I love that. I love bringing like-minded people that want to bring about change in communities to improve people's lives. And I think if I can help be part of that joins that together, and to help the business sector understand the charitable and public sector and vice versa better, so that our expectations are clear, but ultimately that we're really making a difference and it's really needed.
How does that actually work? Because as you're talking, I'm thinking, let's put myself in a position of a leader of a, big, medium-sized, big company in Cambridge. Obviously, the company's work is intense. They've got their day-to-day work. They've got their jobs to do. How does a company find the headspace to do it? How do they know where to go? How do you turn this all into a reality?
So I guess it's the value that you add on it as to whether you would create any time or space, like you'd look at mental well-being, or you'd look at team activities that you might want to do, or you'd look at is where you want to invest your time within your business. So firstly, you've got to give it some time, and that it should be part of somebody's role. Not all companies are able to have a corporate social responsibility lead. Some are, not all of them can, and that's difficult.
So who would that role normally go to if they haven't got somebody like that? Would it be the HR?
Possibly, or if it's not a particular role, it could be the manager of the company. So, for example, I can probably quite easily mention this person because they really wouldn't mind. So I did some work with Cameo Recruitment, a recruitment company. Yeah. About a year ago, Sharon Livermore, we met. And she really does echo her business being a force for good. The amazing work she's done around domestic abuse, the way she's engaging with certain organisations as well is really authentic. And we met, and she just said, I don't know where to start. It's important to me. It's a big part of my business. I know roughly what I want to be doing. Can you help me along the journey? And so we spent some time, and I helped her think through the values of her company, and do the values align with the way she looks at where she gives back. And one of the values that she has is empowerment. And I think that would be, she shares her own experience of being a survivor of domestic abuse, and she's felt that she's empowered herself and been able to move forward in her life, but she wants to use her business to also allow others to do that, whether that's empowering her employees, whether that's empowering her clients, or those in the community, to give them an opportunity to improve their lives. And so it started by looking at values and then threading it through the business, and actually then saying, what's the outworking of when I engage with a charity? Does it echo my values? And can I find like-minded organisations to work with? Tick. And that's exactly what she's done. So I helped her on that journey. And at that time, she was just one person. She valued it.
Because as I'm thinking, perhaps that's, you know, in a particular way, that going through that process for you perhaps crystallized her values. Like, we've all got perhaps our values that we kind of subconsciously live by, but as you're talking, I'm thinking perhaps you crystallized her values in the process. Is that what that be?
Yeah, and for all of us, we need to come together and share ideas and talk, and perhaps that experience for her exactly made her go, well, they were there. I just didn't, it wasn't that I told her them, together she drew them out. And I think for all of us, whether you're business or you're not working and you're running a family and doing an amazing job there, we all have values that we live by. And maybe that's part of the reason why I set up my business, because I really believe in transformation. And I really believe in empowering others, like Sharon's. Probably, again, going back to like-minded people, you connect with the people that share your vision. And I think that's what I did with Sharon. We clicked, we connected. I just helped her on a journey, like any consultant would do. And she then just went, great, thank you. And see what she's done, running seminars for workplace, for HR directors around domestic abuse is incredible. So value is really important.
So you just gave us, a great example about with Sharon Livermore. But we were talking before we pressed record about another example about empowering people and bringing, certain people together, bringing communities together. About the static homes in Cambridge, about this recent project. Do you want to just give us a bit of a detail on that?
Yeah, so I've been involved loosely with the modular homes that have been just located in Cambridge recently. I have been doing some work with a partnership in Cambridge around homelessness for quite a few months. So I was very aware of these modular homes. I haven't been involved in the building of them per se, just been involved in the awareness of it.
And you don't look like a builder, so you don't mind me saying. No, although I think you look snazzy in a high vis.
Tell you what, my other half's a builder, so sometimes I'm learning new skills. I tell you, but I'm not very good. I'm not very patient.
No,
I seem to get on with it.
You could become a site foreman. You could walk around with your high vis with a clipboard.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah. See, that I could do. But actually, doing some painting and stuff around the house has been really good. My other half is extremely patient. I was aware of these modular homes and the amazing project that was happening. And there was a young lad that I was supporting and working with. His father reached out to me and asked if there was anything positive that he could get engaged with, just to get him out of I would probably say, a state of really quite deep mental health issues, drug and alcohol misuse as well. And he was in a really difficult place, and he really needed something positive. So I knew that these homes were being built, and I thought, I know young people have been encouraged to help out. And so I built that connection, got the father to come and have a look at these modular homes being built, meeting some of the team. And we really felt that for this young guy, that this would be a really good opportunity for him to do something practical to get him trying to turn his life around, actually. And his father later took him. I didn't actually meet him at this point because he just was really struggling to leave his room, basically. And I left it with them, and through a series of events, he ended up doing a number of days there, helping build the modular homes, the practical, hard graft. And the amazing thing is, since then, things have really changed for him and turned around.
So, as I said, you was talking about, going out and sort of helping, but also thinking about just being with other people as well. If he's just sticking in his room and, just that missing all that meaningful human contact and just being on site with, a group of lads having a banter as well, no doubt, I guess it's invaluable. Totally.
And being in a different environment helped him just see things differently. I think it took a lot for him to make that step when he would struggle to leave the house and to actually go. And it was the support of his family. But I believe the catalyst for that, I genuinely believe that for him, and he quoted it later, he quoted it when I saw him recently, and I'll mention that, was he felt that he was giving back, and he was giving back to something where somebody was in a greater need than himself. And when we went to the tour of the modular homes, of which he came to, which he now has a job, he's now learning to drive, and he's planning to go back and do his A-levels after a period of education being very difficult for him and his school saying he needed some time out. He's going back to do his A-levels. And he said there, and just to see him, and like I say, I hadn't seen him before, so I hadn't seen the physical change, but to see this young lad, 18 years of age, to say, when I gave back, it made me realise that there were people that were struggling more than me, and it was the catalyst for change to turn my life around. And that's what this project does. It provides opportunities for young people to help build them. So it's a whole journey, and all the people involved. And then, of course, the modular homes themselves are then going to provide homes for those who've been formerly rough sleeping to rebuild their lives. I mean, what a powerful project and story of this young chap's life. And it was an instigator.
But for him to have that sort of epiphany moment, how old was he? You know me telling you? 18.
17, 18, yeah. Well, he's definitely got and he's A-levels, so yeah.
But for him to even begin to have that sort of concept at that age of giving back, and to have some sort of perspective on, whatever story is going on inside his head about how bad his lot is in life, to actually see that, to get that perspective that other people are struggling. I mean, perhaps some people don't get it until a lot later in life to have that sort of epiphany moment. So,
yeah, and I think the way his upbringing as well has always been, the people around him, his parents have always modelled that. So I think he'll have seen it in home life as well. But I think that's often the catalyst for us, is we feel good when we give back. And I think that does a huge amount for businesses when they're looking at engaging their employees in meaningful engagement with their communities, because it changes us, doesn't it? When we know, like, look at COVID, look at everything that's happened. Everybody's looking, how can I help? How can I give back? Because it's not, it does often more for us than it does for the receiver. It changes us. It makes us less selfish. It keeps us humble. We were talking about Neil the other day in the work that he was doing. What a humble, gentle, honest man that just wants to use his business as a force of good. And he responded to need. That's how businesses should respond in charitable and public sector. There is going to be more need in our communities, and it will call for us to respond. And will people respond?
And as you're talking, I don't mean to get sort of kind of morbid, but I just think we're at the start of this. I think that unfortunately the need in the community is going to become greater. And I do think we are just at the start of mass unemployment. I hate to talk in this way, but I can kind of see, once sort of the furlough scheme is wound down, how that's unfortunately going to affect a few more people, and the need is slightly greater.
I think we need to be prepared for that. And I think that highlights the importance of charitable organisations that are actually dealing with the most vulnerable in our community. And when we talk about the most vulnerable in our community, it's you and me. Any of us could be struggling with debt, alcohol misuse, domestic abuse. The issues in our society are not disconnected from business, they're intrinsically linked. And the moment we realise that actually our employees potentially are recipients of the charitable organisations out there working tirelessly, we realise that there's a circle. And I think, like you've said it, when we look at the needs in our community, people are going to be struggling with debt, they're going to be struggling with their housing situation. Who's going to respond to that? All of us, not just the public sector's responsibility, or not just the charitable sector, but all of us to say, this is our community, and it calls for all of us to work together. And I think when we work together, we can be a powerful catalyst for change. But services working in isolation and not collaborating aren't resilient. And that's what I'm passionate about, is if we let like-minded people together to do it, we can probably help. And that's where businesses now maybe need to think they're also going to be struggling. Everyone's struggling. We're all suddenly, but if people were struggling before COVID, we just didn't talk about it or look at it. And it looks different slightly now, but we can all do something. And I think it's our responsibility as a human being to do something, even if it's small, even if it's changing one person's opportunity, but do something. Don't do nothing, do something.
And going back to what you said about, business, we are all humans, and business and home lives are intrinsically linked. I mean, it's, as you're saying that, it just seems so bloody obvious, doesn't it? But
so why then do businesses not sort of go, well, I don't do CSR or social impact because it's not really anything to do with me. It's everything to do with you. But the challenge comes with time, finance, but you don't have to give money. You can give of your expertise, your skills, your resources. It doesn't always have to be money. In fact, some of the businesses that I've worked with that have supported charities are coming in doing pro bono accounting advice. That will save that charitable organisation so much money. And I think it doesn't always have to be financial. And if you look at the example of Sharon, one person, and yet she was able to find the time to do something. But it's a challenging time for businesses and charities, and it will call for us to be more gracious and more aware that it's a tough time. Actually, if we work better together. But the other thing I noticed that I thought was really good was I had a chat with a business the other day, and they were talking to me about wanting to give of their time and give something back. They had some time and we had a lovely chat, and I could hear this child in the background. And I said, have you got a child with you? And he said, oh yeah, I'm just holding my newborn baby and making a cup of tea and talking to you. And I said, I love that. I love that your work life and home life has just all sort of become one, because in COVID, we've had to let down our facade of, suited, but actually sharing, this is real life. This is my life. I'm a new parent. I'm going to need help from a service, like parenting or whatever, maybe down the line, or health visitor, and I loved it. I loved that it was so raw and real, because we disconnect business and community and family life, but I think there's so much more of a linkage there.
And as you're talking, I'm just thinking that's, are we going to return back full time to full-time office working, or is it going to become the new norm where it is, you spend perhaps 2 days a week at home and 3 days in the office? I don't know. I think whether, again, the family, really long term moving forward, family life and work is considered, the same, really now considered the same thing, and we have to think in those new ways.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, I've always worked from home since I started my business 2 years ago. I've really, really missed getting out. It was a big part of, you can imagine, part of my job is collaboration. So being with people, I get my energy on my own, but I love people and I love connecting. And I used to go out to my offices in Cambridge and my connections, see people, share ideas, and that all stopped. And the training workshops I run between businesses and charities, I get them in a room and we actually talk this stuff through. So I actually run that in conjunction with Support Cambridgeshire and Hunts Forum, which is a charitable structure. and that's had to pause. And I've really missed that. I've really missed those connections. And I've felt that getting out has been something that I've really wanted to do. So I think depending on your personality type or how you like to work, some people will want to connect back into office, connect back into people. I know I certainly will, but I think we can just be a bit more flexible and change a bit more, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I get that feeling that you obviously are a people person, and a Zoom call's okay, but it's the energy you get off the other person that sort of, and vice versa, that it really gets you going.
Yeah, and I think in my season of work, COVID, and when it first started being self-employed, that was a real challenge. Like, what will my work look like now? As I said, my training workshops that I was planning to deliver with Hunts Forum in Huntingdonshire with some charities and businesses, and the Hunts FA, they were going to host us, had to pause. And I was thinking, okay, what does that look like? And then I was doing some work around homelessness, and then that pivoted because the government put a directive for all rough sleepers to be placed in accommodation safely in local areas. And suddenly I was asked to help coordinate the food operation for those rough sleepers. So I've been doing that, going out 5 days a week. And that's been amazing because it's meant I can connect with people, be with people, and also do something really positive. And I've really valued and appreciated that. That's been really important, I think. And I think if I hadn't have had that opportunity to have gone out, I probably would have struggled.
As you're talking, let's go back a couple of steps, because as you're talking, where did this all come from? Because you are, like, everything you've described so far, you just give. Where did that sort of, that real, I don't know, built-in charitable nature come from? Because everything you've talked about is you're of service. Where do you think that came from? If you don't mind me putting you on the spot, but as you're
I think it's two things. I think it's who I was created to be. I think the stuff I do to give back, and don't get me wrong, I give a lot back, but I also am quite boundaried, and I do have time for rest and refreshing, because you can't pour from an empty cup, as Gemma Brown would say.
Yeah.
So some people would say, Rachel, do you ever look after yourself? And I am quite disciplined, and I think you have to be. I think it's a joy for me. It's just something that I naturally love to do, and something that gives me a sense of purpose. I feel like if you were to ask me what's important to you, I think the one thing I would value is helping others. And other people, it will be different. We're all made differently, we're all created differently, and we all have our different skills. So for me, I think it's who I was created to be, and I'm just tapping into the things I love, the things that give me a sense of purpose, but where that light bulb clicks and I'm like, that's the bit that makes me want to do what I want to do. Because when you're spending 24/7 in this world working, I don't want to be doing something that doesn't set me alight or gives me a sense of value, or not value, but purpose. My faith is important to me as well. So I would say there's a big part of that also underpins a lot of what I do. And I really have a real belief that we should care for the widow and the orphan, and people really matter. And whatever background, status, I don't see anyone any differently, and I don't think we should, and I believe that, and I think everybody is a value. So I guess I feel my purpose is to care for people, because I think we should. I don't know if that answers your question, but
it does in shed loads. Sorry, that I thought you would say that, but I'm just I think you're gonna make me all emotional now.
I had a little moment there when I thought
know.
I'd choke up, actually.
Yeah.
I thought, oh God, I've got to hold it together. And I think for all of us, and people sort of say, oh, you do such great things and all of this, but all of us are doing great things in our own field. One of the things I really thought about as we were talking, as we've chatted, it's really, really important that you stay in your lane. That's something for this year I've really felt. don't try and be like someone else.
Yeah.
Don't compare yourself to somebody else doing something. Learn from them.
Yeah.
But be a true, we've talked about authenticity, be a true authentic version of who you are. Do what you're good at, whatever that is. Mine will be different than you. I mean, you're great at doing this interviewee thing, and I'm not so sure I would be, but actually you're playing to the things that you enjoy, you love doing this. And we need to do the things that we're good at and not try and compare. And I wish we could encourage young people. I'm very passionate. I mean, if I could do more work, not that I have so many ideas, but I would love to work more with young people. I do it in my past with young people who weren't in education, employment and training, and to tell them that they are of value, and that where they've told themselves that they're not good, they can't achieve anything. I didn't do a degree. I don't have a huge amount of qualifications. I live in Cambridge, but I started a business because I was passionate and I had a self-belief. And I think young people these days are struggling with what am I good at, this sort of sense of purpose, value, where society, and there are a number who don't think they're good at anything. And I think we've all got skills, we've all got talent, tap into them and do that. So,
and I think to that point, a lot, like there's a lot of people have got those skills, and perhaps where you come in, that people want to spread those skills. You know, they do want that sense of purpose. They do their 9 to 5, and that's great, and that pays the bills. But I think people are looking for something more, aren't they? They're looking to spread their joy to the world, spread their skills. And I think, as you were talking earlier, it's paying the bills, and that's great, but it's that sense of purpose that perhaps really, really gets people out of bed.
Totally. And I think that's often when we know that we're doing something that is adding value or making a difference. Someone else. I think it's healthy. I think there have been times where myself and others, where we've talked about we become all consumed by self. About me.
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
about me. And actually, I think when we give back, like the young lad that said, it changes something to say, hang on, get a grip, get a perspective. And I think a sense of purpose using something that you've got. But I think a lot of people don't even know what that is. I had a chat with somebody the other day from a company who said, I feel like there's more I need to do. I knew I needed to call you. I wasn't sure what it was. Can you help me work that through? I think I just love using anything that I'm good at to help someone else. It's as simple as that. And if I can connect people to help improve lives and transform communities in a really positive way, that's what gets me out of bed. And I think I've found with COVID, it's really interesting. I started my business 2 years ago. And prior to that, I was doing lots of, as I said, working with vulnerable communities, vulnerable families in Cambridge, facing all sorts of challenge. And I moved into setting up my business to, as I said, be that brokering, enable things to happen, collaboration. And not weirdly, but I've gone back full circle over COVID to go back into what I was doing 2 years ago, which is actually frontline, working with people and actually being there to really see change happen. And that's been really good for me, because I think it's gone back to reminding me why I started my business in the first place, because I think we can go through life forgetting why we do what we do. Even me, in the busyness of, I've got to run this business, I've got to do it well. Actually, what I've got to do is remember the reason why I did it and stay true to that. We've talked so much about authenticity, and that's been I'm really thankful for that opportunity.
It can become slightly cliche, but it is the why. It is the why. What is, again, because you've got have to pay the bills, but that isn't the stuff that gets you out of bed in the morning. It really isn't. I'll admit, over the last couple of months, you kind of not lose faith, but you think you can forget why you do it. I don't do this as a job. I do this because it's a hobby of mine, and I love meeting people. But I design gardens, and obviously over the last few months, that's garden design is the first thing to get cut. And then you think, well, why, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to do? And I went to see a client a couple of days ago, and I specialize in trying to create biodiverse, wildlife friendly gardens. And I went to this garden and saw a meadow that had been created, and you saw butterflies and you saw bees and you saw lots of small invertebrates, and it's like, oh shit. Right, I'll cut that one out. But I went there, and it was like, this is why I set up the business. This is what I'm about. Forget the money, forget everything else. It's to have that massive impact on somebody's garden, and more importantly, somebody's connection to it, somebody's connection to looking at the subtleties of nature and getting connected to nature.
Yeah, and then that makes them feel good because they're in a place that they're just come alive.
100%, and it gets them to slow down, and it gets them to look at the finer detail of nature. And you could give it a phrase and say, oh, it's mindfulness, whatever term you want to use. But and now she's getting connected to the garden. She's going out and she's buying tools so she can do the gardening herself, which I thought was fantastic. And
that impact, what you're doing, has a huge impact on someone else and creates opportunities for them. And you're a creative. You love to create. You're in your element when you're like, whoa, I wish I'd have worked with you. Years ago, I did a project in Kent on social prescribing, looking at social and therapeutic horticulture. And I designed a whole project around helping those with dementia and dementia and Parkinson's to look at working a garden to improve their well-being. I wish I'd have met you back then. I'd have gone, oh, come help me design this.
But again, you go further with that. It's the sort of even in office blocks, you have interior plants and how plants can. And it's not just one man's opinion. There's research after research after research paper of how people's connections to plants affects their mood. They can measure being in a room with a plant and levels of stress hormones, and being in a room full of plants and the stress hormones go down. I mean, it's that it's that deep connection to nature that we all need.
You said something in there that I think was also really poignant, slowing down.
Yeah.
I think we're in a really fast-paced culture, or were pre-COVID, where people were just, I think we all felt it. I certainly did. And I think coming back to nature, where you sit and you pause, we just don't stop.
No.
Internally, externally. And I think it's amazing what you create, because it forces and encourages people to sit and just be, to stop and to just look. And I love nature. It's one of the things I value in life is nature. And unfortunately, I haven't had as much time as I would have liked to have gone out and done as many walks just around the area. But thank you for creating amazing spaces, because I think it really connects us in a way that we really need to stop, slow down.
But as you're talking as well, we perhaps, individually, we pause, stop and think. As you're talking, I'm just thinking perhaps it will give a reset button to other, to companies to stop, pause and think about, bloody hell, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this?
Like you said, it's the why. Simon Sinek, he does lots of work. I love people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And
that's the man with the very high trousers on that TED talk.
The Simon Cowell. Yeah, and just because you've done something always one way doesn't mean that you should continue to do it the way that you always have. I think social impact and caring for our communities, and we're seeing it shift in so many ways from so many topics that are coming up. And I think businesses do need to get up to speed in looking at how they add value, how they give back, how they're not just all about driving the money and helping people to sort of feel stress in a work environment. And I think if people feel like they can work for a company, as you were talking about a company earlier, that really value their people, they give them time to do stuff to engage in their communities. Maybe post-COVID, it will shift the way people actually go, no, I really am encouraging people to do this.
But we won't mention names, but if you look at the example we were talking about earlier, again, it has a truly like measurable positive impact on the employees. The staff turnover, I mean, if you bring it down to numbers, or if you're looking at it from an HR department and a cost benefit analysis and all the metrics that people would put through, you've got low staff turnover, low absentee rate. It has a measurable, the AHR measurable impact.
It is the value you place on your people, like you said. But actually, if people feel good in their work and they know that they're being cared for, but they're giving opportunities to give back, they'll be more productive. They'll enjoy their work. Like you said, that the CSR element of benefits to business is that actually employees feel like the company isn't just caring about money, but we care about our wider community and our people and our employees. Again, going back to what you said about, or we were talking about, the issues in society are not disconnected from businesses, they're intrinsically linked. And actually the benefits to business in having an authentic CSR program that is really embedded into their business strategy, that really values that mutual alignment and where they can really give back based on what the community needs, not on what the business always thinks it needs. But looking at that mutual alignment. So there are benefits both sides. Let's be honest, there are benefits for both sides if we do it and we do it well. And I think that's okay. I think that's important that we recognise for businesses showing that they're giving back is good. And I don't think businesses should shy away from saying we've done this. I think we're too polite. When it's done really well, it really does add value to a business and to the employees, which means they're happier. There is evidence that we feel when we give back, we feel better in our mental health and our well-being. And we know, as we've talked about COVID, but probably pre-COVID, stress, pressure in work, it's just not healthy. And I think part of the giving back and valuing people, your employees, goes a huge way to improving the cultures of business. Really do. And I know what difference it makes to me when I give back, and you know what difference it made to you through your work, going and helping somebody and knowing the difference that would make. But also when you help somebody that is more facing challenge more than you, and you give back and you know you've made some difference, isn't because of, oh, look at me, but because it changes you.
So we were talking earlier about leadership and leadership in business, but we were chatting a bit earlier about sort of the culture in businesses, but something that's come up recently about perhaps the next generation that comes through. I don't really like these terms, but perhaps the millennial generation, and they're coming through, and how businesses have got to respond to that next generation of people coming into the workplace.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm not sure what I think about these generational tags we give people. I think culture is shifting and we are introducing new workforce coming through. And we always see change happening as the generations move on. But I think we are in a season where social purpose and giving back is a big thread for the new workforce coming through. I certainly know within the educational system, within university, they're talking about sustainability, they're talking about impact. It is part of the curriculum. I also think young people, younger than me, care about this kind of stuff. We see it everywhere. We've seen it everywhere. People are caring for issues in our society that need to be addressed. And I think those businesses that create cultures where purpose and profit can be connected will more likely attract a workforce that feels that the business isn't all about profit, but also has an element where when they're looking for employment, they go, oh, I like to work for that company because one, they've got a good well-being strategy, or they have good benefits, but they also care about their communities and they care about people, and they'll look for that. I mean, we all do. We all want to work. We were talking earlier. We want to work in an environment or for people that we know genuinely care about us, and their values in a company are actually outworked in the way they do their work. But I think impacting communities and giving back is something that the next generation will look for in a business. Do they actually do anything that authentically and meaningfully is adding value? Not because what we talked about before is a tick box, or what we've always known CSR to be, which I think is shifting to being very needs and community based. And I know the charitable sector will want businesses to ask them where they can help, and vice versa, mutual benefit we've talked about. But where it isn't just this is what we want, but it's what we want, what we can do together. So I think this is interesting times.
So Rachel, I think that feels like a nice stop point, because we probably could talk for about 10 hours. Although
I know I would.
So do you want to sort of just let people know where they can find you, where they can sort of make contact? Have you got your sort of contact details to hand? So
yes, so I am very active on LinkedIn. So it tends to be where I do most of my work and let people know what I'm up to. So do find me on LinkedIn. If you aren't on LinkedIn, you can drop me an email at rachel@getsynergised.com and we can chat a little bit more. But yeah, if you're interested in any of the stuff I've said and you just want to have a conversation, then I'd love to hear from you. If you're like-minded and you have the same interest in this, I'd love to connect and get to know a little bit more about how I can help.
Yeah, it's been lovely chatting, and speak to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely great to chat. Lots to ponder on and think about. You've got me thinking lots too. So, really good. Great way to end a Friday.
Cool. Nice one. Speak to you soon.
Take care. Bye.